This works. Yeah, go ahead. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
My name is Tracy Thomas Paul. I live in Hood River. Today's executive session will probably discuss Assistant Director Andoh, who was hired in January, began in May, and has been working for the Hawaii County Mass Transit Agency since early July, despite his request last month for a medical leave. In Hawaii last night, his own comments to the Mass Transit Committee there didn't even mention CAT, by the way.
Just briefly about me. I'm 41 and I have a passion for public transit. I've been working in the public transit industry since 18. Most recently, I was the executive director of the Comet in Columbia, South Carolina.
This hiring failure poses questions and concerns that the board must address and answer publicly. I'm concerned about board failures in its oversight responsibilities, the executive director in her recommendations, CAT governance and process failures, and the lack of compliance with CAT bylaws and state rules.
In regards to, our AED, we can't give specific issues right now, but I can tell you that Mr. Andoh did work on site 40 hours from May 1st to June 26th, and then was on a 20-hour per week remote work schedule from the 23rd to the 1st of August. And on the 2nd of August, Mr. Andoh was placed on administrative leave without pay. During this 2-month period, we've diligently followed state and federal HR guidelines as well as legal obligations to the employee. But should any decision come from the executive session today, it will be made public per Oregon law.
Madam Vice Chair, I think it is important that some of those comments that Tracy brought up there be addressed at some point, where our hiring processes failed us at some point, whether our background check or our background information didn't go far enough to be able to find it. It seemed like there was a lot of discoverable information about our hire that maybe we do have some gaps there. There's obviously a failure, and I've hired many an executive, and I've had failures in my life too that I thought were foreseeable. You learn from them, but I think there's a learning moment for the board here. Did we follow proper procedure? Sounds like Patty, that the comment about only 4 questions went way deeper than that. And I'm sure there was other screening interviews and a lot went into interviewing these candidates. But if there's something we can learn from this so it doesn't happen again, and we end up in this situation, I say staff does need to look at that, and we should review it at our next meeting with what the outcome was and what we learned, and changes we need to do. And if we haven't followed bylaws, as has been pointed out, maybe we need to go through some training and see where we have some gaps to make sure that we are, so we're accountable for our actions.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely. Greg, this is Laura speaking, and I agree with that. I think it's probably a situation where, as volunteers, some continual training is appropriate, and especially after we have a situation that, like we do now, where we probably want to do a postmortem on what led to it. So I think that's appropriate, and we can make a motion to add that to the agenda at our next opportunity in September.
Yeah, I mean, I've done it in meetings too where I'm leading it, and I have to ask, all right, is this allowable in the bylaws? Can we do it? Or what's the mechanism to make this happen? Like, here's what we want to do. Are we following it appropriate? Do we need council recommendation or whatever else? It's a good practice to follow.
Let's see. Okay, at this point, the board is gonna move into executive session pursuant to ORS 192.6602B to consider dismissal or discipline of, or to hear charges or complaints against an officer, employee, staff member, or agent. We're asking the district executive director, Patty Fink, and the district's labor attorney, Adam Collier. And is John Andoh on the call? Okay. To remain, all others must leave the room now unless you are with the media. Okay, the board is resuming its public meeting at 5:44 p.m. The board has opted to take action. Do I have a motion on the contract of John Andoh?
Make a motion to terminate the contract for employee John Andoh immediately as breach of contract. Have our attorney send a letter to the employee or former employee to have demanding the return of district property, and then it'll be signed by Chair Dunn.
Is there a second?
I second. And third.
Okay. There's been a motion and a second to terminate John Andoh and the process for that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Vice Chair votes aye, so a unanimous vote for termination effective immediately. Okay,